Don't you dare give up. You may be facing a storm right now. It feels like the weight of the world is pressing down on your shoulders, and the road ahead seems longer than ever. But let me tell you something that I know to be true. Your breakthrough is not in the next step you take after you give up. It's in the one you take before you decide to throw in the towel. Think about a seed. You plant it in the ground, and it is buried in the darkness, under pressure, surrounded by dirt. But there's something inside that seed, something powerful, that refuses to let it stay down. It starts to push against the soil. It stretches toward the light, and even though everything around it tells it to stop, that seed has a purpose. You are that seed. You were not created to be buried. You were created to break through. You were born with a purpose so big that not even the fiercest storm can stop you from reaching your potential. But you've got to keep pressing. You've got to keep pushing through, even when the way seems impossible. Purpose is your driving force. Imagine a car without an engine. It might look good on the outside, but it's going nowhere. The engine, though unseen, is what makes the car move. Similarly, your purpose is the engine of your life. Without it, you may drift from one thing to another, feeling aimless and unfulfilled. But when you understand and embrace your purpose, it gives you direction, energy, and drive. The Bible speaks clearly about purpose. In Jeremiah 29:11, God declares, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." This promise reveals that before you were even born, there was already a plan for your life. Your purpose is not something you have to create, it's something you were born with, given to you by your Creator. Now, ask yourself, what would happen if you tried to use a tool for something other than its intended purpose? A hammer used as a screwdriver would not be effective. A knife used as a fork would not serve its purpose. Similarly, when we don't align our lives with our God-given purpose, we find ourselves ineffective, frustrated, and unfulfilled. Purpose is not just a dream or a desire, it's a divine blueprint, something that is uniquely yours. It is the reason you were created and the reason you were placed on this earth at this very moment in history. You may not always see the full picture, but like a puzzle with many pieces, every step you take toward understanding your purpose brings you closer to the complete design. Look at the story of Joseph. He had a dream that one day he would be in a position of authority, but his journey to that position was not easy. He was sold by his brothers, falsely accused and imprisoned, but in every setback, Joseph was walking in his purpose. He didn't give up. Even when he couldn't see how his painful circumstances were leading him toward his purpose, he kept his faith. In the end, God used every struggle to position him for his destiny. You see, purpose often comes with challenges because the road to fulfillment is never smooth, but those challenges are part of the process of refinement. Just as gold is purified in the fire, your purpose is often refined through trials and hardships. You may ask, why am I going through this? It is because your purpose is being refined, and what is meant for harm will ultimately work for your good. Consider the bamboo tree. When planted, it remains underground for years with no visible growth. But under the surface, it is developing a strong root system. When it finally begins to grow, it shoots up rapidly, reaching heights unimaginable in just a short time. The years of unseen growth were necessary for the tree to support its newfound height. Similarly, your purpose may not always be visible immediately, but every trial and every experience is building the strength and resilience you need to carry it when it comes to fruition. Purpose also gives you the power to overcome obstacles. When you know why you are doing something, no matter how difficult, it becomes easier to push through. Take David, who as a young shepherd boy faced Goliath. It wasn't his size or strength that defeated the giant. It was his understanding of his purpose. David knew that his purpose was to protect his people, and he knew that God had equipped him for that purpose. It wasn't about the giant in front of him. It was about the purpose inside of him that gave him the courage to face it. When you begin to understand your purpose, it changes the way you view everything. Every setback becomes a setup for something greater. Every failure is a lesson in your journey, not an end. And every moment becomes meaningful because you are walking in alignment with your purpose. Ask yourself, what would your life look like if you truly believed that every step was leading you closer to fulfilling your divine purpose? How would you walk differently, speak differently, and act differently if you believed that you were uniquely designed to make a difference in this world? Purpose is not just something to be understood. It's something to be lived. And when you live it, everything in your life begins to fall into place. It will guide you through the darkest moments, strengthen you when you are weak, and carry you to places you never imagined. Your purpose is your driving force. Don't let anything distract you from it. Obstacles are opportunities in disguise. When you look at your life, what do you see? Is it a series of challenges, obstacles, and setbacks? Or is it a series of opportunities waiting to be seized? It's easy to see obstacles as barriers, as things that are standing in our way, hindering our progress. But what if I told you that the obstacles you face are not just obstacles? They are opportunities in disguise. In the Bible, we find the story of David and Goliath. David was just a young shepherd, seemingly insignificant compared to the giant Goliath, who taunted the armies of Israel. Everyone else saw Goliath as an insurmountable obstacle. But David saw something different. He saw an opportunity. While others were paralyzed by fear, David saw this giant as a chance to prove that his God was bigger than any enemy. David didn't just see a problem, he saw a divine opportunity to demonstrate his faith and strength. And with a simple stone, he took down what others thought was impossible. Isn't it interesting how the same situation that can paralyze one person with fear can empower another to rise to greatness? Why? Because it's not the obstacle itself that defines the outcome. It's the perspective you bring to it. When we face obstacles, we often feel discouraged, thinking that they are signs we are on the wrong path. But the reality is that obstacles are often part of the journey to success. The Apostle Paul in Romans 5:3-4 says, "We rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope." Paul is not saying we should seek out hardship, but that we should recognize the value that challenges bring to our lives. Obstacles are not just setbacks, they are building blocks for our character, our strength, and our endurance. Without them, we would remain stagnant, untested, and unprepared for the greatness we are called to. Think about the process of refining gold. Gold, in its natural state, is often mixed with impurities. But through heat and pressure, those impurities are removed, leaving only the purest form of gold behind. It's the heat and pressure that make the gold valuable. Similarly, the challenges we face in life are the heat and pressure that refine us. Without the obstacles, we wouldn't be able to grow, develop, or truly discover the depths of our own strength. The truth is, obstacles are not random or accidental. They are strategically placed along our path to help us grow. In 2 Corinthians 12:9, Paul writes, "But he said to me, 'My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness.'" What if your greatest weakness, the obstacle that feels like it's holding you back, is actually the very place where God's strength is made perfect in you? What if your weakness is the key to unlocking your full potential? Take the example of Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb. Edison faced countless failures, testing over 10,000 different materials before he found the right filament. When asked about his failures, he didn't view them as setbacks. Instead, he famously said, "I have not failed, I've just found 10 zero ways that won't work." Edison didn't see obstacles as signs to give up. He saw them as steps on the path to success. His ability to persist, despite repeated failure, turned what seemed like obstacles into stepping stones toward innovation. What if you viewed the challenges in your life the same way? What if, instead of seeing obstacles as failures, you saw them as lessons? What if the things that are making life difficult right now are actually preparing you for something greater? Every obstacle you face is not the end of your journey. It's a chance to sharpen your skills, deepen your faith, and increase your resilience. Think about the story of Job. Job experienced unimaginable loss and suffering. He lost his wealth, his family, and his health. Yet through it all, Job's faith never wavered. He didn't understand why he was suffering, but he understood that his purpose and his trust in God were not determined by his circumstances. The obstacles Job faced became the context for a greater revelation of God's faithfulness and restoration. In the end, Job received twice as much as he had before, not because he avoided obstacles, but because he trusted God through them. When you look at the obstacles in your life, ask yourself, what if this challenge is preparing me for something greater? What if this setback is the very thing that will propel me forward? What if the obstacle I'm facing is not something to fear, but an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to rise higher than I ever imagined? Obstacles are not there to defeat you, they are there to shape you. They are opportunities waiting to be seized, not problems to be avoided. Don't fear them, embrace them. For in every challenge lies the seed of a greater victory. Your breakthrough is often one step past your breaking point. How many times have you been at the edge, feeling like you couldn't take another step? Maybe you faced situations where you thought, I can't go on any further, or this is the end of the road for me. Those moments when you feel like you're breaking are often the very moments when you are closest to your breakthrough. The thing about breakthroughs is that they don't come without pressure. They come after you've been tested, tried, and stretched beyond your comfort zone. The Bible is full of stories where breakthroughs happen just after the people involved reached their breaking points. Take the Israelites, for example. When they stood at the edge of the Red Sea with the Egyptian army closing in behind them, they were at their breaking point. They could see no way out, no escape. But in that moment of crisis, God parted the Red Sea and led them through to safety. If they had given up just before that moment, they would have missed their breakthrough. But they trusted in the God who was leading them, and what seemed like their breaking point became the very place of their greatest deliverance. Consider the story of the woman with the issue of blood in the New Testament. For 12 years, she suffered from a condition that no doctor could heal. She was at the breaking point, physically, emotionally, and socially. She had tried everything and lost all hope. But then she heard about Jesus. And despite the crowd pressing in on him, she took a step of faith and reached out. One touch from Jesus, and her breakthrough came. She was healed. What if she had given up just before reaching him? What if she had allowed her circumstances to define her outcome? Her breakthrough came just one step beyond her breaking point. Sometimes the difference between where you are now and the breakthrough you're praying for is just one more step of faith. But that step isn't easy. It's the step you take when you're exhausted, when you're discouraged, and when it seems like the odds are stacked against you. It's the step that requires you to trust when you can't see the outcome. That's where many people give up. They stop just before the breakthrough. In life, we are often faced with situations that seem insurmountable. We feel overwhelmed by the weight of responsibility, the burden of challenges, or the pain of failure. But what if I told you that the thing holding you back is not your circumstances, but your perception of them? The pressure you feel in those moments is not meant to break you, it's meant to propel you. It's the same way that a seed buried in the ground must break through the soil to reach the light. The struggle is part of the process. It's what strengthens you, shapes you, and prepares you for the life that lies ahead. Think about the process of a diamond forming. A diamond starts as a lump of coal, subjected to immense heat and pressure deep within the earth. The pressure, over time, transforms the coal into something beautiful and valuable. It could have remained just a lump of coal, but through the process of enduring pressure, it became a diamond. The pressure didn't destroy it, it created something magnificent. This principle applies to you. The challenges you face are the pressure that is shaping you into something more valuable. Your breaking point is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of something new. But in order to see that, you have to press on one step further. The breakthrough you seek is often one step beyond where you want to give up. That is when you have to dig deep and find the strength to keep moving forward, even when it feels like you're at the edge. When you feel like you're at your breaking point, take a moment to pause and reflect. What if the next step, the one I feel too weary to take, is the one that will lead me to the breakthrough I've been praying for? What if the struggle I'm facing right now is just the preparation for something greater? What if the very thing that feels like it's about to break me is actually the thing that will elevate me to the next level? Your breakthrough is not far away. It's often just one step beyond your breaking point. Keep pressing. Keep trusting. The moment you feel like giving up might be the moment you need to take one more step forward. That step could change everything. Never measure your worth by your circumstances. It's easy to get caught up in measuring our worth based on what we have, what we can do, or how others see us. Society often tells us that our value is determined by our job, our income, our appearance, or our achievements. But if you measure your worth by your circumstances, you will always be vulnerable to the fluctuations of life. Your circumstances can change at any moment, good or bad, but your true worth, the value you carry, is not determined by what happens around you. It is rooted in who you are and whose you are. In the Bible, we see the story of Job, a man who was wealthy, respected, and blessed in every way. Yet in an instant, Job's life turned upside down. He lost his wealth, his health, and his family. His circumstances seemed to declare that he was worthless, but Job's response was profound. In Job 121, he says, "The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." Job recognized that his worth was not tied to his material possessions or his current circumstances. His worth was anchored in his relationship with God. Job's story teaches us a powerful lesson. Circumstances do not define our value. When life changes, when things don't go the way we planned, we must remind ourselves that we are not defined by those changes. We are defined by the purpose and identity God has placed within us. Your circumstances may be temporary, but your worth is eternal. Think about the way diamonds are formed. The diamond starts out as a rough stone, unpolished, unrefined, and unremarkable. But even in its rough state, the diamond carries immense value. The process of cutting and polishing the diamond only reveals the value that was already there. Doesn't matter how rough or unpolished the diamond is at first, its worth is not determined by its outer appearance or its current condition. It is intrinsic, not circumstantial. In the same way, your worth is not defined by how you look today, how much you have, or where you are in life. It is defined by the potential and purpose that God has placed within you. Just because things may not be going well right now doesn't mean you are any less valuable. In fact, sometimes the most difficult seasons in life are the ones that refine us, helping us see our worth and potential more clearly. When we allow our circumstances to define our worth, we become slaves to them. We begin to think that if things aren't going well, we are failures, and if things are going well, we are successful. But this way of thinking is dangerous because it's always shifting. Success and failure are temporary, and they don't tell the full story of who we are. Consider the example of a child who is learning to walk. At first, the child falls again and again. Does the child stop trying because they fall? No. The child's worth is not determined by their ability to walk without falling. Their worth is inherent in their identity as a child. The same is true for us. Just because you've experienced setbacks, just because you face failures or challenges, does not mean you are any less valuable. Your worth is determined by who you are, not by what you've done or what has happened to you. In the book of Romans, Paul reminds us that nothing can separate us from the love of God. Romans 8:38 to 39 says, "For I am sure that neither death nor life, nor angels nor rulers, nor things present nor things to come, nor powers, nor height, nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God in Christ Jesus our Lord." Nothing can take away your worth in the eyes of God. Not your mistakes, not your failures, not your circumstances. So the next time you find yourself measuring your worth based on your circumstances, ask yourself, why am I allowing external factors to determine my value? What if my worth is not dependent on what I have or what I've lost, but on the fact that I was created with purpose and significance? What if I could see myself through God's eyes, not the eyes of my circumstances? You are worth far more than your current situation, and you are not defined by what you've been through. Your true worth is grounded in the Creator who made you, the purpose He has for you, and the potential He placed inside of you. Never forget that your value is unshakable, regardless of your circumstances. Your potential is greater than any problem you face. There are moments in life when it feels like the challenges before you are insurmountable, like the mountain you're facing is too tall, too steep to climb. You may look at the situation and feel like there's no way out, like you've reached the limit of your strength. But let me tell you something powerful. Your potential is far greater than the problem you see. The obstacles may seem huge, but the strength, the resilience, and the wisdom that are inside of you far exceed anything you face. The problem is never the measure of your capacity. It is just a test of what you're capable of overcoming. In the Bible, we see the story of Moses. When God called Moses to lead the Israelites out of Egypt, Moses immediately saw the problem. He saw himself as unqualified, lacking the ability to speak, and surrounded by a powerful enemy. He questioned his ability and doubted his potential. But God didn't call Moses because of his personal abilities or because of his qualifications. God called him because he knew Moses had within him the potential to fulfill God's purpose. When Moses focused on the problem, it seemed impossible. But when he trusted in the potential that God had placed inside of him, he was able to face Pharaoh, lead a nation out of slavery, and perform miracles through God's power. The problem never changed, but Moses' perspective did. He realized that the potential inside him, when coupled with God's strength, was greater than any challenge he would face. Your potential is not limited by your circumstances or the size of your problems. Just because you feel small in comparison to your challenges doesn't mean your potential is small. Think about David and Goliath. David was a young shepherd boy, and Goliath was a giant, a seasoned warrior. To the world, David's potential didn't match the magnitude of the problem in front of him. But David didn't measure himself by his size. He measured himself by his faith and his trust in God. He knew that his potential was not determined by his age, his strength, or his resources. His potential came from God, and when he used the faith within him, he defeated the giant with a single stone. It's easy to look at the mountain in front of you and feel like it's too high to climb. You might be facing a financial crisis, a health challenge, a relationship issue, or a career setback. But what if the reason the mountain feels insurmountable is because you're focusing too much on the mountain and not enough on the power within you? What if the key to overcoming the obstacle is recognizing that the strength you need is already inside of you? The Apostle Paul reminds us in Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Your potential is not tied to your own abilities alone. It is tied to the God who is within you, who is greater than any problem you face. The potential you carry is like a seed, small, seemingly insignificant on its own, but with the power to grow into something much greater. Think about a small acorn. It is tiny, but it has the potential to become a mighty oak tree, towering over its surroundings. It doesn't look like much at first, but it has all the potential within it to grow and overcome the forces of nature. Similarly, you may feel small or insignificant in the face of your challenges, but the potential within you is greater than anything you see around you. Your potential is not determined by how things look now, but by the power within you and the purpose God has placed on your life. We've all heard stories of people who started with little and faced insurmountable odds. Take Oprah Winfrey, for example. She grew up in poverty, faced abuse, and encountered countless challenges. Yet, she believed in the potential that was within her. She didn't let her circumstances define her. She pushed past the obstacles and built an empire. Oprah's story is a powerful reminder that your circumstances don't determine your future. Your potential does. When you recognize your potential and refuse to let the problems you face define you, you open the door to unlimited possibilities. What if you began to see your challenges differently? What if instead of seeing them as roadblocks, you saw them as stepping stones to realizing your potential? What if every obstacle in your life was simply an opportunity for you to tap into a strength you didn't even know you had? Often, the problems we face force us to grow, to become stronger, and to realize the depth of the potential inside us. Without challenges, we would never know what we are capable of achieving. When you look at your problems, don't see them as limitations. See them as opportunities to unleash the potential within you. Ask yourself, what if the greatest strength I need to overcome this challenge is already inside of me, waiting to be activated? What if this problem is the very thing that will help me discover the strength, wisdom, and resilience I never knew I had? Your potential is greater than any problem you face. It is not defined by the circumstances around you, but by the purpose God has placed inside of you. When you trust in that potential, there is nothing that can stand in your way. As we journey through life, we will encounter moments when everything seems to be against us, when we feel like giving up is the only option. But remember, your story is not defined by your struggles. It is shaped by your response to them. Don't you dare give up. The obstacles you face are not barriers. They are opportunities to grow, to discover the depths of your potential, and to rise above. Your breakthrough is just one step beyond your breaking point. Your worth is not determined by your circumstances, but by the purpose and potential within you. And when you recognize that your challenges are merely stepping stones to unlocking your true strength, nothing can stand in your way. So, as you face the challenges ahead, remember this. You are more than capable. You are stronger than you think, and your potential is greater than any problem you will ever face. Keep moving forward, keep trusting in the process, and know that your breakthrough is coming. Good luck on your journey. May you find the courage to keep going, the strength to overcome, and the faith to see the greatness within you unfold. Thank you.